So we left off on Craig asking Phil if he would be willing to send a screenshot of his WWE Champions account. And by the way, nobody else would see this, only Craig. But if he would send it in private, and then Craig could vouch for him that it wasn't DSP's account. And to no one's surprise, he weaseled his way out of it. But we'll get to that part later, trust me. For now, let's jump into part 2 of the SideScollers interview, a less ago.
Could I bring up one point about these bank statements?
Sure, yeah.
So I've seen limited amounts, because here's the thing. You guys just said, why do you bring it up on your stream? I only bring this kind of stuff up on my streams when someone else brings it up, and there's like, it's such a loud fervor on the stream. People are talking about it in the chat. I'll address it, okay? I did look into it. I saw some of this supposed bank statements that are mine. Mm-hmm. There's a couple things that don't make sense to me. All right, number one, if this is me, okay, there's a bunch of transactions on there, I guess, from like pet stores, okay? And people are like, well, that's because Phil has a cat. Yeah, but those transactions are like big. You're talking like hundreds of dollars a week or something like that. I have one cat. Now, again, that's he said, she said. It's not going to prove my innocence, but everyone knows I have one cat. He's been on the stream all this time. I don't have a secret herd of dogs in my basement. I don't even have a basement. So we're, you know, some of the transactions in that I've seen don't make sense at all per what it's funny because you say circumstantially, some of these transactions could be yours if you went out, you know, and ate. Okay, you're right. But some of them also don't make any sense. Like, okay, there's a bunch of transactions on there that say iTunes. Okay. Now, I don't know, but here's the thing. The narrative that they have put out there about me is that I'm begging and shilling to my viewers. The viewers give me tips every day, and that money goes right into WWE champions, correct? Like, that's the narrative that they say on the internet. If that's the case, why are there bank transactions for iTunes, right? The money is in my PayPal account. Why are there bank transactions for iTunes? It doesn't make any sense. Why would I take money out of a PayPal account that I have, that I get my tips from, transfer it to my bank account where then I take a hit because there's a transfer fee anytime you transfer money from PayPal to a bank account. So I'm taking a big financial hit on that money. Then I'm making transactions in the game off the bank account. Why wouldn't it be made out of the PayPal account? That doesn't make sense to me. It makes no logical sense.
Nothing you do makes logical sense. You're a mobile game crackhead, Phil. What difference does it make what account you're using? But you know what he's trying to do. Confuse these guys by just throwing nonsense out there. So he started the clip by saying he looked into these supposed bank statements that aren't his, by the way, and that there's a few things in there that don't make sense to him. He claims that there's hundreds of dollars of transactions per week to pet stores, and that he only has one cat, so it doesn't add up. Where on earth he's getting this information, I have no idea. If you go look at the bank leaks, every week on his day off, it's the same shit every time. 200 at Fred Meyer's, 50 at Total Wine, 40 at a pet store, DoorDash twice a day, and they mix in Target or Best Buy every now and then. But according to his investigations, whoever framed him with these bank statements is feeding an entire zoo every week with hundreds of dollars. Grit fucked.
Grit fucked.
Like, as pointed out in the chat, several people have said, like, the charges to your bank account or to the bank statement that is not yours.
The alleged account.
That is not yours. They include, you know, shops that are around where you live, you know,
right.
and restaurants. Right. And like, that just seems like, once again, Phil, help me out, man. Like, we're looking at an account that just so happens to be around where you live. Mm-hmm. That just so happens to be shopping and dining where you're at. That just so happens to have your a social security number that is extremely close to yours. I mean, that's how they accessed it. Not you know, like I said, we talked about how we totally disown that. That's ridiculous, but it's out there.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you a question, because
Sure.
This is interesting. Let's say, you know, the screenshot, I send you a screenshot, you see it. Okay, this is his account. This is, you know, this is not what he said was true. So then how did that happen? How did they make this bank? How did they do that? I don't know how they did it. I wish I knew. Just like you
right.
just mentioned, the Discord chat and stuff. I don't know how they did that. I have no idea. I guess I'm stupid. I'm a dinosaur, right? Like, I don't understand how they faked all that stuff. I really have no clue. And people say, well, how could they have done it? It's like they took advantage because I don't know. I don't know about Discord enough to answer how they could fake those logs. How do you fake a bank account? Or is it a real bank account that they somehow had access and found one that's close to? I don't know. How could that be possible?
Do you think that somebody went in and created a fake bank account and made 12 hours, 18 hours, however long it was do you really think that somebody dislikes you that much that they're willing to make a 12 to 18 hour audio recording of every single transaction from a bank account that just happens to be right where you live, right in the same area, at shops you may or may not you visit? Like, this just seems like dude.
Do you hear my honest answer?
Yes.
Yes, I believe they hate me that much. I have other situations that are similar.
He's 42 years old and still sitting there in front of other adults and claiming he doesn't know how anything works. This is the type of shit you do when you're like 9 years old and you just don't know any better. You don't understand the consequences and everybody can see that you're lying, but you just keep doing it anyways. And then he has the nerve to sit there and say, why do people mess with me so much? How come no one believes me? Well, maybe it's because you say shit like, I don't know how Discord works. I don't use it enough. Meanwhile, there's been somewhere between 5 and 10 Discord moderator leaks over the years where he's in there talking every day. And by the way, those are just the ones we know of. Imagine being a moderator for this guy and he's sitting there saying he doesn't know how Discord works and he doesn't use it enough. You know he's lying and you still choose to cover up for him. I wonder why his fans have the reputation that they do.
You know, you have taken accountability for some things, right? For this is how I was in the Street Fighter community. This is how I was then. But I feel like there are other things that have yet to be, you have yet to atone for, whatever the word is, that are just, I just go back to it, man. It just seems like there's just this mountain of evidence, and we're talking fucking JFK level conspiracy theory here. If all this stuff lines up the way it does, and if you were just to say like, yeah, I play WWE Legends, yeah, I'm addicted, yes, I have a problem with spending money on it, yes, I need to improve, I think people would be like, yeah, cool, let us help you, instead of stop lying, and that's what it feels like right now, man. It just, like, only you know the truth in your heart, right? And the evidence attached to it, right? Which there is a mountain of, right? It just too much lines up.
With the situation I'm in, it's a lose-lose. There is no win. There is no win in this situation. There just isn't. No matter what I do, there's a risk. There's a liability, and just like you said, even if I send you this screenshot, they won't care. They will not care.
With the situation that I'm in, it's a lose-lose either way. You know who talks like that? Guilty-ass people that know they can't admit the truth. The messed up part is, if he came out and told the truth, people would respect him more for it. Yeah, you get 100 videos of him being a mobile game addict and that he's been lying for years. But guess what? There's already 100 videos out there like that. So why not just come out and admit it? This is part of the reason why people hate you, Phil. I mean, Craig is sitting there trying to help you, trying to get you to confess, so that people might say, yeah, this guy's a piece of shit, but at least he knows something is wrong. At least he's trying to do the right thing. But he can't even do that. And do you know why? Because according to him, it's a lose-lose situation either way.
Can I tell you a quick story as to why I am so not convinced that anything I do will help at all? Can I please just tell you a story? Will you bear with me for a couple minutes?
It's your show, Phil, man. Yeah, absolutely. Go crazy.
It's not my show. It's your show.
Our show, Craig.
Well, listen, we provided you a platform for you to do it. And listen, you have thousands of people ready to listen to you right now. So,
by the way, you guys have been great. You've been great interviewers. You've been completely fair with me. You've given me, thank you. You guys have been the fairest shake I've ever gotten on the internet right now. Seriously, and you should be commended for being as neutral. I know you're saying he's trying to get a confession out of me. I don't feel that way. I don't feel pressured.
No, he's trying to help you. That's really what I'm saying. But he sounded like it. So.
All right. And the thing is, he's not going to get a confession because I'm telling you, it's just what I'm telling you.
I know, but it's clearly Craig trying to help.
Okay. So here's the story. Okay. When I was first talking with my now wife, okay, I was so scared that people were going to harass her or do things. We didn't live near each other. We had online communication. After talking for several months, We started dating. Okay, she flew out here on her own dime, by the way. It's another conspiracy that I paid for that way. No, that's not true. Started dating, and after a few months, she visited for Christmas. Okay, this was Christmas of 2017. I took some pictures while she was here, but I didn't take a picture of her face. I just took a picture of her back, decorating my Christmas tree, saying, here's someone nice who's in my life now. My life has changed because I had previously been in a relationship that was very public, and sadly, it turned out toxic. We broke up in 2016, or excuse me, early 2017. So this was like something new and positive that I wanted to share with everyone, but I was apprehensive about showing her face or anything. So all I showed was her back, decorating my Christmas tree. I talked about what we did when she visited. We made some brownies together. We did this, we did that. Very, very basic stuff. I'm not making this up. It's documented. You can look this up on the internet. I wonder if you guys have come across this. There were people, my haters, made up an entire fabricated story about that was not someone I was dating. That was an escort that I was paying. The money that I was bringing in on streams, I was paying for a European escort and flying this escort across the globe to spend Christmas with me. All right?
So the trolls did that to you, but the trolls are also the ones that debunked it. Just like the trolls are making up fake mobile game accounts and fake transactions, well then, wouldn't the trolls have debunked this one as well if it wasn't true? But that makes too much sense for Phil. Get out of here with that noise. We also got, quote, you guys have been great. You've been completely fair with me. This is the fairest shake I've ever gotten on the internet right now, and you should be commended for it. Are you sure about that? Because I have a feeling you're going to snake these guys in the back as soon as you can find a way out. He then goes into the story of how he met his wife. And one thing he drops in is she came out to visit him a couple of times and paid for it all herself. With what money, Phil? Because you remember when she finally moved out there? She didn't have anything but her clothes and her computer. You had to get her a brand new TV, a brand new console, a brand new phone. Do you not remember any of this stuff? If this video wasn't going to be long enough already, I'd go pull these fucking clips. And any OG detractor knows they're out there.
Walk me through once again. Like, what are your month-to-month business expenses? What are you paying for as a streamer who works 12 hours a day? Kind of walk me through this.
Well, again, I could tell you what I'm doing now. I mean, we're talking, what people are referencing is something from like 2019, I think, right? Is that a tax return from my bankruptcy proceeding?
But I want to know about today. I want to know about today. Like your expenses that you have on a month-to-month basis. What do those look like? Are your expenses?
You know what? How about this? Give me 1 second.
Sure, do your thing. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
I'm an old man. Okay?
Yes.
I do something that no one else does. I use paper and I write on it to track things. What I'd like to do is kind of go through here because people say every day, where does your money go? Essentially that's what you're asking, right? Where does the money go that's coming in? I will 100. You guys are chopping. Tell me.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good. You're good. Keep going. Keep going.
Okay.
Keep going.
Here we go. I'm going to go through this. I'm not exaggerating. Line for line, this is what I'm paying this month. And this is where all my money goes, plus a few other things. Okay? And this is literally all of it.
Great.
I have a subscription to Hulu. It's $10 a month.
Business expense. Okay.
Definitely not a business expense. I'm just saying this is where our money goes. This is everything. I'm serious. I'm going to cover it all.
Okay, sure.
I have my internet. I have 2 internet lines that I pay for. They're very expensive because they're unlimited internet. It's, it's not an hourly, it's like you have to pay a ton of money. I have my dues here where I live. I live in a community, a condo facility community. So it's the dues, monthly dues. I've got, let's see here.
I mean,
Game Pass.
But you're reading off personal expenses, and that's no one's business.
Right. I'm reading off everything. I don't care. I'm reading off everything so you know where my money goes. Because this is what they want. They want to know where all my money goes. I'm going to tell you right now.
No, I don't think that's the case. I think it was about the $5,000, the business expenses that they were like, what is going on with this? Like, how is this the case? That's from what I've seen. It's the business expenses that's what people want to know about. Like, how are you spending that much money on the business?
Here's the thing. If you were to nickel and dime every single transaction I do, when it comes to like video games and stuff like that, I don't think it gets close to that. I think I don't know how it was divvied out in those, in that report or whatever they used for the bankruptcy. I don't know how it's calculated. I'm not my bankruptcy attorney. I'm not my CPA. I know it's done right because I went through it with the bankruptcy judge line by line.
Again with this bullshit of explaining it line by line to the bankruptcy judge, and it all made sense. But he can't explain it to these two guys without his list of bills in crayon and going over each charge step by step. I honestly would have liked to hear him name each bill and how much it costs. But when he started off with, I have a Hulu subscription and that cost me $10 a month, I don't blame Adam for saying, fuck this. I don't want to listen to that. Now, we've seen that list of bills before on stream, but I wonder if he sat it close by just in case he needed to bring it out for this very situation. I wouldn't put it past him. Now, get ready for the next clip, because he's going to bust out the crocodile tears and give you an Oscar-worthy performance about how tough his life has been. It's been tough. My life has been tough.
Like, it's been tough. You know, my life has been tough over the last decade. It has. A couple things that no one knows. I guess I have to. I didn't want to do this. I really don't want to do this, but, you know, again,
Phil, you do what you're comfortable with, man. I think that's the biggest thing. Is
I really don't want to. Like, let me go put the paper away. I'm going to tell you. Okay, hold on.
Okay.
All right. I don't want to talk about shit, but I have to. It sucks.
Well,
no, you don't. You said like 30 minutes ago you don't give a shit, and it doesn't make a difference. So pick a point. Pick a place to stand.
Yeah, I know. I don't.
Either you don't give a shit and you're gonna move on and let the haters hate you no matter what because there's nothing you could do, or try to appease them. It's not. You can't be somewhere in the middle where you're like, I might appease you. I might actually do this. I'll think about it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like,
Adam, I don't care about
one or the other.
I care about you guys. I care about my viewers. I care about these neutral parties out there who've heard so much nasty stuff about me. At least have a place to listen and hear my side. You know, that's what this is. And I appreciate you guys so much for giving me this time. I really do. I'm sorry I'm getting emotional now thinking, you know, but, you know, all right, I'm just going to, fuck this. I'm going to do it. All right, I'm going to tell you a few things that no one knows without specifics. Okay, so it doesn't really put anyone under the bus or anything. I've been involved in a few different, you know, legal things over the years. I've been involved with medical issues, my own health and my wife's. All right, and it's not stuff I should talk about with my audience. I don't want my audience to come to my stream and be like, I want to give you a tip because I found out that you have maybe a medical issue or something going on. That's no one's business. You know, I've said to let me explain. I said to my audience, if you're going to come to a DSPGaming or a DSPReacts stream, please come support me because you like me and my content, okay? Don't come support me because you want to stick it to the haters. I don't want that pity party. Keep that, you know, let them celebrate whatever. Come and just support me for my content. If I tell you stuff that's going on that are expenses, you know, medical expenses, legal expenses, you know, and I mean, again, I'm not going to tell you, you know, I have some medical conditions.
Yeah, you have gout, Phil. Celebrate Gout 100. Do you remember that? But he starts the clip by saying, I don't want to talk about this shit, but I guess I have to. I'm going to tell you some stuff that nobody knows about without going into specifics. So in other words, there's no way to confirm anything he's about to say. There's been legal issues over the years. There's medical issues for him and his wife that he can't tell you about. And the reason he can't tell you is because he doesn't want his audience feeling sorry for him and tipping him because of that. Is this a joke? You said your parents were basically at death's door one time before holding a fundraiser for yourself. You once posted a picture of yourself in long sleeves, saying you couldn't really turn the heat on this winter because you were broke and it was too expensive. You came on stream a bunch of times, saying your account was overdrawn and you didn't know how you were going to survive the next 2 weeks. Oh, and by the way, you paywalled a fucking cat for $1,000. But now you don't want to use sickness to manipulate your viewers for money. Well, I guess I had you all wrong, Phil. At least you're better than Boogie.
Okay, I have a few ongoing things. When you don't have credit anymore, okay, but you still owe, some things can get erased, some things can't, all right, by a bankruptcy or whatever. And I'm in a situation where I have ongoing costs that I'm on payment plans for, okay? Not, oh, credit card. I can't get a credit card. I have no credit. My credit sucks because I have bankruptcy. No, I have payment plans. So, for example, I incur a legal cost of several $1,000s. Okay, Phil, you don't have to pay that today. You could pay it slowly over time. Here's your payment plan, right? With the IRS, I owe them back taxes. Phil, we understand. As long as you're in repayment status, you're paying this amount every month. This is, you know what I mean? So that's where my money goes. I'm embroiled in all these ongoing things behind the scenes that absolutely no one needs to know about. Medical stuff, legal stuff that I'm going through, and tax stuff. And where does your money go? And then just think about this. I'm streaming 6 days a week full time. I'm stressed some days, you know? And then I got to come on my stream and hear, you blew all your money on mobile games. My wife and me are feeling so much stress. with this going on. And, you know, we didn't go on a honeymoon when we got married. We haven't been on a trip since 2019. We haven't done anything.
Phil, I get it. We understand, which is why, you know, we talked about therapy. We've talked about all these things. We understand, right? We've talked about all these things. But you still haven't answered the question. I'm going to ask you this really directly, okay? On a month-to-month basis, how much money are you spending on WWE mobile games and or any other mobile games on a month-to-month basis? Are you spending on iTunes or any sort of mobile device?
Okay.
Just a straight dollar amount. Whatever it is, it's okay.
Okay. Do you want? Okay. This month, I have spent probably $10 to $15. That is an honest answer.
What do you even say? It's the same way he lies about having home-cooked meals every night, except for the one day off a week he gets where they can order out. It's the same way he lies about not drinking all the time, despite Total Wine showing up on his bill every single week. It's the same way he lied on his bankruptcy forms about $5,000 a month in business expenses, despite earlier in this same interview saying, oh, well, I guess it wouldn't even come close to that. But yeah, he's only spent $10 to $15 this month on mobile games. And just to encapsulate how much he's lying, he talks about all these payment plans he's on for legal, medical, and taxes, and that's where all his money goes. Well, then how are you doing it before your bankruptcy, Phil? All that debt that got discharged, and you're still in the same exact spot. This is why nobody believes you. And the only people you can get to give you money are the low IQ dregs of society. And it's honestly perfect because those are the people you used to make fun of the most. And now you're stuck with them.
Phil thought Keemstar did this. Keemstar thought Phil did this. All right. So we're in a better place, which is great.
So to move on from that, you know, I see a clip and it's on Phil's stream. He's reacting to my retirement and he's saying I'm this horrible, evil person, and he doesn't support me. And I responded.
Hold on, Keem, is that true, Phil?
I don't know. I'm sure I've criticized him. I don't know specifically what he's talking about yet.
Okay, continue.
I don't know exactly what was said. I'm going off of memory, but it was something along those lines. The clip gets sent to me by multiple people. Okay. So I respond to Phil because the only thing I know about Phil is him being a lol cow, right? Him on stream begging for money to pay rent and stuff like that. That's all I know about him. So I responded to him on Twitter, which I thought was pretty clever, in gaming terms. And I explained to him that, like, we are roughly the same age. We've been doing YouTube for like 15 years each. We started at the same time. And I'm retiring now and I don't ever have to work again. So I have completed this video game of YouTube. And I said to Phil, you're still on level 1. All right. You're still on level 1 and you're restarting, you know, level 1 over and over again, like a video game, and you're getting nowhere. You're still at the point where you're begging people on stream to pay your bills and whatnot. And I thought that was a good response, right? Even though I am talking trash and, you know, we got a little drama going on for Twitter and whatnot, you know, I thought that I was actually giving you good advice. And, you know,
I was gonna say that
is that advice or is that more like, because in
that
text
felt like
form,
a backhanded smack.
Well, a backhanded smack is exactly what DSP needs. But I'm honestly surprised Phil stayed there when they brought Keemstar on. I figured this dude would have ran downstairs and unplugged the internet. But I'll give you credit, Phil. You didn't run away, you stayed there, and you got slaughtered. I mean, think about what DSP had to be feeling in that moment. Here's a guy that he legitimately can't stand. They've both been on YouTube for a long time. They're roughly the same age. And Keemstar has the one thing that Phil wants more than anything else: money. And he had to sit there and listen to Keem explain all over again how DSP is stuck on level 1. To quote my very good friend, Super Crazy, I love it. Next clip.
You're lol cows, but there's so much value there. By putting the three of you together, and, you know, each one of you would own 25% of this podcast. All right. We never got to have this conversation. So I do want to have it now, even though I know you're not going to do it. All right. I would also own 25%. I would do the business aspect of it. I've had many success selling podcasts to exclusive deals with Spotify and other companies, multi-million-dollar deals. All right. I wanted to put the three of you together for this show. I would do the business side of the things. And I knew that all three of you would be in a situation where you didn't really trust me, or you're like, I don't know if this is going to work, and you'd have a lot of doubts. So I was just going to take my own money and take $150,000, give you each, just to start off before we even filmed an episode, 50 grand up front to let you know that I was serious and I believe in this concept and this idea. Now, I call Boogie first. I instantly get on the phone with Boogie. All right. He loves the idea. He understands it. He gets it. He reaches out to Wings. Wings is down. And now it's time to talk to DSP. Boogie, the way I understand it, called you, contacted you, and told you what was going on, right?
He DM'd me on Twitter, and we had a brief conversation back and forth in DMs.
And he told you that I wanted to do a podcast with the three of you, right?
Yes, I had no idea that's what you were trying to contact me about because we never talked. But he said that there was this idea for a podcast, correct?
So you did know.
So Boogie told you or didn't tell you?
Boogie told me that he and Wings had spoken to Keem, and that Keem wanted to do a podcast with all three of us. No money or anything was discussed. He just said, he wants to do a podcast with all three of us. I didn't know that's what Keem was trying to reach out to me. I said maybe that's what it was. I didn't know because I never spoke with him. I have absolutely no problem doing anything with Boogie or Wings. In fact, I had the conversation with Boogie back and forth a little bit more later in the year. Would he be interested in maybe doing a podcast with me or me being on his show or whatever, whatever it may be. These guys, I did a react about Wings last year, about his documentary. That me doing a collab with them, just doing a fun podcast is not out of the question for the future.
But your issue is with Keemstar and his business principles.
Correct.
Go back and watch the clip. Listen to how sure of what he's saying and how confident Keemstar sounds. Then contrast that with DSP, who never sounds sure of what he's saying, never can remember any details, and is tripping all over himself. It's night and day. It shows you a guy who has a real life, who deals with people every day, compared to a guy that goes out once a week, talks to one person in real life, and the rest of the time, he's talking to a computer screen. This shit is wild. So, Keem goes over the concept of the Lolcow podcast, which sounds like a tremendous opportunity. Say what you want about Keemstar. He knows how to conduct business. And remember, Phil wouldn't even take a phone call with this guy to hear him out. But yet, he supposedly has all these legal, medical, and tax problems. Doesn't make any sense to me, buddy.
Can we talk about that though, real quick? Have you ever tried to remove reactive content for your business that people have reacted from?
Reactive content. So you're saying someone actually watching my content and reacting to it,
or just posted clips of it?
The only time that I have tried to ever take anyone down was straight up ripping the raw content and illegally reposting it with absolutely no transformative work whatsoever added to it. The moment that someone's there and they're talking about it, that's transformative. I know because everyone does it. There's a judge that made a ruling on that. The only way that really legally you should be able to take anything down is if they just right now, if they rip this raw podcast from SideScollers and put it on their channel, no context, no commentary, that's illegal. Everything else is fine. So no, I've never tried to do that at all to anything that's reactive content or reacting content like that.
Another perfect example of him just sitting there, lying straight to these guys' face. And the best part of it is, this interview took place March 16th, 2023. One fucking month later, what does this guy do? On April 6, 2023, he shows his flag history. And besides Dark Dave Mears, who is a restream channel, there's one other person he struck in the last 9 years. And you're listening to his voice right now. But according to Phil, I don't edit, add commentary, or make the videos transformative. This is what he does. He just sits there and lies and lies. It doesn't matter how much proof you have. It doesn't matter if he was on camera just yesterday admitting to it. You gotta believe him this time, guys, because he's telling you the truth and he wouldn't lie to you. I promise.
Another thing. I'm sorry that I have to bring this up, but I talked with my wife about it. I want to get this out in the open. People say that I'm some kind of a horrible woman abuser, and basically I groom these women and I bring them into to my personal life. My wife and I met online, casually talking for a few months before we ever started dating or anything like that. Okay. Basically, she was in a really bad place in her life, an abusive relationship. She got out of that relationship, and once she did, then we started talking a little bit more romantically, and then things pursued. People made stuff up and said that I basically stole her from her ex and that he's a victim. It's funny Because when you look on the internet, they will find all this public information about me and my personal life. They'll find my bankruptcy. They'll find all these statements. Did you ever find the restraining order that she had against her ex because he was hitting her? Right? But, you know, make him look like a good guy on the internet, right? Which is what they've done. My detractors have actually done this. They've gone into her personal life with her family. She has nothing to do with me or my content. Stop. If you're going to mess with me, that's one thing. Leave my family, leave my everyone out of it. Make fun of me. Put the brunt on me. It's one of my biggest regrets as a content creator. I never meant for anyone to get hurt doing this. Never. I feel awful that my wife every day is feeling awful about things going on. Like, why are they saying these things about her? She has nothing to do with any of this. Leave her out of it, all right? Just all this stuff. I mean, I'm sure there's a million other things. There'll be a part 2. We'll get to it then. But those are two things that have always been horrible to women. If anything, you will never, ever, 1,000,000%, you will never find someone on the internet saying that Phil was in a sex scandal, Phil was abusive to women in the past. I have never done that in my life. 1,000,000%. But they want to say it, and it really irks me the wrong way. So.
Yes, Phil. Raise your hand to the Bible. It's all true. Everything you say is true. We believe it. Or just remember the last clip about copyright strikes and shit. DSP wouldn't lie to you. So he says people made stuff up and basically said, I stole her from her ex and he's the victim. No, Phil. Other people didn't make that up. He said it himself directly. Who comes out and says, oh yeah, I got cucked by DSP? Who in their right mind would admit that? Somebody that's telling the truth and not doing it to be a victim. That's who. Then he damn near cries because of how mean the internet is to his wife. Well, he wasn't crying earlier this year when he brought her back on stream to clean up in tips and super chats. It's funny how this works, Phil. It's almost like you're using it to play the victim in front of these guys. But when it's time to make money, you don't seem to give a shit about her feelings. Just trot her on back out there. And if all else fails, just raise your hand to the Bible again. Hallelujah. So the interview is pretty much over at that point. And this is very important because what Phil accuses these guys of later on, he basically did the same thing. He got on his stream for a couple of hours, took in a bunch of tips and super chats, and listened to his fans accuse these guys of being one-sided, slanderous, and trying to set him up.
So American Manga Undertaker re-upped his membership for 6 months, and he says, as a fan, it's worth it to watch. Is it worth it to watch the interview? I mean, I don't know. Will you guys tell me? Do you guys think it would be worth it for someone who didn't watch the interview to watch it? It's not that I have a good time, but I do feel like I very intelligently conducted myself on that show. You know what I'm saying? Mint says, do you feel it was a fair interview? It felt like an ambush. How was that an ambush? If anything, the only part that was unexpected was Keem showing up. All right. I don't think that the Keem part was like if Keem had come on the show and was like, screw you, you're a liar, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't. It wasn't about that. It was about our interaction, which I don't even understand because no one really cares. Like, seriously, no one cares but my detractors about our interaction. I don't care about our interaction we had last year, but, you know, it is what it is. Again, he has to make it all about himself. I don't want to talk about him all day. So. SD Charger says they should have prepared more, had a timeline and asking questions in a certain order. I mean, maybe they did. You don't know. Maybe I don't know what they were following there. Showtime did a super chat. Feel like it was a setup, though. How do you feel it was a setup? I don't feel that at all. If I'm the person who was interviewed and I don't feel it was a setup, how do you feel it was a setup exactly? Right? I'm a little bit of a loss there. That you think it was a setup. Why were they upset with how I spend my money? First of all, they weren't upset. This is the detractors' questions and stuff, right? But again, the insinuation is that if I'm making money and I'm irresponsibly blowing it on stuff, right, then, you know, there's going to be criticism there. And that's what these people have made this giant semi-fabricated situation around it, correct? And I really feel like, you know, that, you know, people want answers, and I tried to answer as best I could. You know what I mean? PF says, don't send the screenshot. It feels like a setup. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I have to have future talk. I'm gonna have future talks with him. Craig, that is. Mishael did a $10 tip. He says, good job on the interview. Thank you, Mishael. I appreciate that. Again, you know, for me, this was just like... to them, that was like a long grilling session. To me, that was like normal. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even feel like I was in the hot seat. Because this happens every day on my own streams.
Someone asked him, do you feel like it was a fair interview? It felt like an ambush. And Phil says, how was that an ambush? The only thing that was unexpected was Keem showing up, and that he felt Keem shouldn't have been there. Someone else then super chats and says they feel like it was a setup. And Phil responds by saying, if I don't feel like it was a setup, how can you feel like it was a setup? That doesn't make any sense. Another person super chats and says, don't send the screenshot, I feel like it was a setup. Are you noticing a pattern here? Phil constantly saying he enjoyed himself, it seemed pretty fair, and it wasn't a setup. Meanwhile, his army of regards keeps saying the exact opposite. These people are almost as paranoid as him. They have to hide under sock accounts. They have to hide their identity. They send in secret messages with their tips. No wonder they felt like it was a setup. They're all a bunch of paranoid losers. So that was only about 2.5 minutes of that entire stream he did. And it was like that for most of the time. Now, let's shoot ahead to the next day. The SideScollers do a follow-up stream, and it's titled The DarkSydePhil Aftermath, where they talk about how the interview went and how they thought Phil performed. They take in a bunch of super chats from detractors that are talking shit about Phil, calling him a liar, saying he can't be trusted, etc. And remember the day before, majority of Phil's fans were saying it was an ambush, it was unfair, and they can't be trusted. Essentially the same thing. But because they laughed at some of the super chats, because they said they didn't feel like DSP was completely honest, apparently they backstabbed Phil. And now it's time to put an end to everything. Isn't it, Shawn Michaels?
So what I was going to do was I was going to send him my actual Apple ID and my game account in my phone that lists every game I've ever played on that phone. Literally, actually lists every single game that I've ever played. I'm serious. It was going to have all of that listed. All right. And it was going to prove everything. It was going to prove account, because actually I usually have used the same account in all these games, the same name and everything. You know what I'm saying? I was going to send him the screen grab from WWE Champions, and I was going to actually send him what we had talked about on the show. I was going to send him a screen grab to show it's the same account that I actually use in the new Street Fighter game that just came out. And I actually was going to take another screen grab of an older game that I've played in the past, one that I've never even mentioned. I didn't even mention it on the show. I never mentioned it here. It's a game that I played. So here you go. Here's the same account that I use on all my games. Here it is. It could prove not only is there crossover between all of their games, but also here's the Apple ID it's tied to, and it shows the evidence. And here's the actual game account that's in the phone. I was going to send him literally all of that. Okay? And it was around 6 p.m. that I sat down after dinner with my wife on the couch, and I'm about to do this. So I email Craig, and I say to him, are you ready for this? Hey, Craig, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on how the show went. I hope that this was a big benefit for you guys. If so, this might have actually been the only time in history my infamy has actually helped something. I know that you'll want to get back to normalcy, but I'm looking forward to hearing from you again about the possible next appearance. Now, what I did here is I shared some thoughts about what my viewers had been saying on my 90-minute decompress stream. Here you go. You ready? My viewers are telling me they think you and Adam were too harsh, but I disagree completely. As I told you on the podcast, you were nothing but fair. There is pretty much a 100% consensus that the Keemstar bit was intrusive, and it gave him free plugs for his own content, and it took away about an hour that could have been more on topic. You know, I didn't mind, but that's the vibe my viewers are sharing with me. It would likely be best for a repeat appearance to just be us, to avoid people feeling that it's a surprise or a trick to shock me on the interview. Okay? And now, the key part of this whole message. How often do you actually check this email? Because I'm 50-50 on showing you my Champions account, especially because of what Keemstar said on the show. If you don't know what Keemstar said, it doesn't matter what you send to Craig, it's too late. It's literally what he said. Makes no sense, but, you know, that's what he said. And he says, I feel nobody would really believe, even if you vouch for me at this point, you know. But I respect you, and I'm still considering it, despite the fact I'm incredibly scared that my info will once again leak and hurt me. Word for word, I just read it from my email. There it is, okay?
The clip starts with Phil saying he was going to send Craig a picture of his Apple ID, his game account, which shows every game he's ever played on that phone, and that it was going to prove everything. He says this like it's 100% fact. This is what he was going to do. He then proceeds to read off the email he sent Craig, word for word, confirming that he was going to do all this. He mentions that his fans thought the interview was harsh and unfair, but that he disagrees completely. He asks Craig how often he checks this email, because he's, quote, 50-50 on showing you my Champions account. He then finishes the email with, I respect you and I'm still considering it. This is how dumb his fans are. Less than a minute ago, he was going to send his Apple ID, his game account, showing every mobile game he's ever played. and even screenshots of the new Street Fighter mobile game, along with some old one he's never talked about. But when he's actually talking to Craig, it's 50-50, he's thinking about it, and he's still considering it. Gee, Phil, I wonder why they thought you lied to them.
Overnight, nothing happens. In the morning, apparently they turn on their show. Now, here's where the bullshit starts, okay? They had advertised all week long that on Friday we're going to do a decompression stream from the DarkSydePhil interview. We're all going to be playing Mario Kart together. It's going to be the whole show. It's going to be just be fun gameplay of us kind of messing around and playing Mario Kart to decompress from the drama that likely will have happened Thursday. This was advertised all week long. Is that what they did today on their podcast? DarkSydePhil Aftermath Side-Scroller podcast. Let's see. 2.5 hours long, way longer than their show usually runs. 13,000 views. Gee, I wonder why. So what they had said they were doing all week, what I was under the impression they were doing all week, they decided not to do. All right, they decided to do something completely and utterly different this morning. Now, I did not watch this show. So I decided, you know, I'm back to normal, right? I won't even probably be talking to these guys. If Craig comes back at me and responds to the email, right? Then, you know, we'll have a discussion about possibly sending him all the stuff or whatever that he wanted on the show. I'm serious about it, right? So I'm streaming and people are like, Phil, did you just see that podcast they just did? I'm like, no. Again, to my knowledge, it's over. That was the interview. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know what what are you talking about? No, do you understand the whole show was dumping on you? Like literally every host came on and essentially said, they didn't believe a word you said. You're a filthy liar. You know, you're not that they were like totally saying what a scumbag or anything like that. But essentially, I guess what the theme of the show was that they're all sorry for me because I'm such a person who apparently is really just a sad guy in a bad situation and he's addicted and, you know, he's a liar and it's all bullshit. And essentially, it's funny, all right? Because they're doing the show, all right? And apparently, when they're doing the show, every time a super chat comes in, it's literally from one of my detractors. And every super chat is something nasty. And they read it, and they all collectively laugh at it. Ha, 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 that's funny. Ha, ha, ha. Ha, ha, ha. Ha, ha, ha. Let's laugh at Phil because he's not here. Ha, 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 ha. They didn't do that when I was on the show. They waited till I wasn't. That's funny, isn't it?
So because they laughed at detractor super chats, said they didn't think you were honest during the interview, which, by the way, they both said straight to your face, that means they backstabbed you. This dude is so desperate to hide this mobile game shit, this is what he comes up with. And by the way, he didn't even watch the show. This is all secondhand information. You know, the infamous, a lot of people are telling me, and then he wonders why nobody wants to do business with him, why he can't get sponsorships. Gee, Phil, I can't figure it out. Now, the next clip is the last one, and I chose to end with this one for a reason. It's fucking perfection, and I'll show you why afterwards.
Right? And they're showing on for 2.5 hours, all right? Now, I got a question for Craig and the Side-Scrollers crew. I really do have a genuine question, all right? Let's actually ask the question. We all know that my appearance on Side-Scrollers is the most popular thing they've ever done, correct? It even brought in Keemstar. Big ass YouTuber. All right? Do you think that Keemstar would have ever appeared on the Side-Scrollers podcast if I wasn't on there? Right? Okay. So they see, oh my God, this is the biggest thing we've ever done, and we just made an insane amount of money, thousands of dollars from detractors. So what do they decide to do the next day when I'm not there? Which is not the agreement we had. They do the DSP Pylon show, where we're just going to sit there and we're going to take a big dump on him because he's not here to actually respond to any of it. All right? There's a difference between journalism and online drama for personal gain. It's cause and effect here. They saw the money rolling in on Thursday, and they decided instead of doing our Mario Kart show that was planned and we were supposed to be doing on Friday, Instead, who cares about that? We're going to ride this gravy train on. We're going to do the Dump on DarkSydePhil show. And it became a 2.5-hour clown show of them essentially taking in donation after donation after donation from every detractor under the sun to read it, laugh at me, make jokes about me, and then make money on it. Okay? So here's the question I have for Craig and the SideScollers crew. If the DarkSydePhil interview on Thursday only had 100 viewers, and if you had made $5 the whole show, would you have done the DarkSydePhil Aftermath show on Friday? I would love to hear their answer. I'm sure they will. This is literally the same thing that all of my detractors have done for years. They say, wait a minute, drama sells? Wait a minute, making fun of someone and you know, bringing them down at their own expense is profitable? Oh, well, who cares about morals, right?
Fucking perfection. Who cares about morals? I don't know, Phil. Is it the person that begs disabled people every day for their money? Is it the person that does literally anything to cover up their mobile game addiction? Is it the person that can't admit their bank account was hacked and their statements got leaked everywhere? Or is it the person that trots his fat ass wife out there knowing people are gonna shit all over her, but he does it anyways for the money? Then he cries like a victim afterwards. Is that your definition of morals, Phil? And then he throws in, that's the most popular thing they've ever done. And would they have been able to get Keemstar without DSP? I went and looked at their channel and I scrolled through the last month of numbers. Then I went to your channel and I scrolled through the last 10 days. It looks to me like they're doing just fine. And it looks to me like you're still stuck on level 1. Grit fucked. Alright, and that video is dedicated to all the little trolls that came to my channel in the last year and kept asking me where the SideScollers Part 2 video was. There, I finally made it. Now quit asking me. No, I'm kidding. I just didn't want to make it because of how much effort it was going to take, how long I was going to have to sit through a bunch of DSP garbage, and then all the audio and editing, but I still went ahead and did it. Let me just give a couple of quick shout outs. Thank you to Joe Blow, who tipped me and said, oh, the camera was on, huh? I guess the camera was on the whole time. Thank you to Anthony, who didn't include a message, but thank you, brother. I appreciate it. And then thank you to Derek, who said, I really enjoyed my time working at Toys R Us. Get the hell away from me. Oh my God. Anyways, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. I'll talk to y'all in a couple of days. Unless a fucking go.